It happened in less than 3 seconds. The sound of wood splitting, the laughter, and then the silence that cuts deeper than any word. For a moment, I didn't move. I just sat there, surrounded by faces frozen between pity and amusement, trying to figure out which one hurt more. My body was still heavy, but the air around me got heavier. Someone whispered, "I told you that chair wouldn't hold." And I remember thinking, it's not just the chair that broke. Something inside me did too. The sound of that snap still echoes in my head, louder than any insult I've ever heard. I tried to laugh along, pretend it was nothing. But when everyone laughs and you're the only one pretending, the world suddenly becomes very small. And that night, I made a silent promise. I would never let anyone laugh at me again. But life has a cruel sense of humor, because sometimes what breaks you is exactly what you need to rebuild yourself. It took me years to understand that. Years, and a chair. My name isn't important. What matters is that for most of my life, I've been the funny fat girl. The one who laughs before others can laugh at her. The one who hides the pain behind sarcasm, and hides the food behind closed doors. You learn to survive that way. You make yourself small in conversations because your body isn't small enough in real life. You apologize when you enter a room, as if your existence takes up too much space. And the worst part? You start believing it does. I wasn't always like this. When I was a child, I didn't even notice my size, until someone made sure I did. Kids at school laughed when I ran, teachers called me sweetheart instead of my name, and relatives always started with, "You have such a pretty face." I learned early that compliments come with conditions. At home, food was love. Birthdays, sadness, boredom, everything ended with something to eat. No one told me that what I was really swallowing wasn't hunger. It was silence. And silence tastes heavy. I carried that silence into adulthood, into every friendship, every relationship, every mirror I stood in front of. And the night that chair broke wasn't an accident. It was the sum of every unspoken word, every bite I took instead of crying, every time I told myself I'm fine when I wasn't. It's funny. People say trauma changes you, but what they don't tell you is that before it changes you, it exposes you. And that's what that night did. It showed me what I had become, or maybe what I had been hiding all along. I was the kind of child everyone liked, polite, quiet, helpful. The kind of child adults brag about, but they never noticed how hard I worked to earn that love. How I smiled even when my chest hurt, how I said thank you when I wanted to scream. I learned early that being good meant being small, not just in size, but in presence. Don't talk too loud, don't want too much, don't take the last piece of cake. Good girls don't make scenes, they make sacrifices. So I started giving away little pieces of myself until there was nothing left to give except food. Food never asked questions. It didn't judge, didn't expect, didn't leave. It was my secret friend, my reward for surviving another day without disappointing anyone. Every cookie felt like a pat on the head. Every slice of cake whispered, "You did well today." At school, I was invisible until I wasn't. The boys made jokes when I ran. Girls giggled when I changed clothes in gym class. I laughed with them. It was safer that way. Better to be the joke than the target. But laughter is heavy when it's fake. It sticks in your throat like stale bread. I used to come home after school, drop my backpack, and go straight to the kitchen. The first bite was relief. The second was punishment. Mom never asked why I ate so much. She just said, "You'll get sick if you keep that up." But she also handed me another slice of pie because that's what love looked like in our house. A love that filled the stomach but starved the soul. I remember one night, I couldn't have been more than 10, hearing my parents argue behind closed doors. My father said, "She's getting too big for her age." And my mother replied, "She just needs to feel safe." I didn't understand what safe meant then, but now I know. She was talking about herself too. I started hiding food under my bed. Cookies, chips, whatever I could sneak without being seen. Not because I was hungry, but because I was scared. Scared of needing something I couldn't ask for. That's what emotional hunger is. It's not the stomach growling, it's the heart whispering, "Please notice me." But no one did. And the more invisible I became, the more visible my body got. It grew in silence, just like my pain. Looking back now, I realize I never really wanted to be thin. I wanted to be enough. I wanted to exist without feeling like an apology. But when you grow up learning that love must be earned, you never stop trying to deserve it, even if it kills you slowly. By the time I turned 13, I had already mastered survival. Not the kind where you fight for life, the kind where you fight to be liked. I became the clown, the comforter, the one who said, "I'm fine," even when I was breaking. People love a funny fat girl. She makes them feel better about themselves. I laughed at every joke about me before anyone else could. If they saw me laughing, they wouldn't see me hurting. And if they did, they wouldn't care. It's strange how laughter can sound like self-defense. At lunch, I'd pretend I wasn't hungry. I'd push food around on my tray while imagining the moment I could be alone to eat for real. That's the thing about shame. It doesn't stop you from eating. It just makes you do it in the dark. After school, I'd sit on the kitchen floor with the fridge door open, cold air hitting my face. The house was quiet. No one asked what I was doing. Maybe they thought I was just being lazy, but I wasn't. I was mourning. Every bite felt like a secret. I didn't enjoy it. I needed it. Like medicine that doesn't heal but keeps you numb enough to function. That's what emotional eating is. Not hunger, not pleasure, just survival through silence. I remember my first crush. He was kind, but I never believed he could like me back. So, before he had the chance to reject me, I made it a joke. "I'm not really your type, unless your type is round and reliable." He laughed, I laughed, and something in me died a little. Humor became my armor. If I was the one making people laugh, they wouldn't laugh at me. If I was kind, no one would dare be cruel. If I stayed useful, no one would leave. That's how you confuse love with performance. People said I had such a great personality, and every time it felt like a compliment wrapped in pity. Because we all know what that means. You're lovely, but not enough to love. So I doubled down. I became everyone's favorite listener, everyone's friend, everyone's emotional sponge. But when you absorb everyone else's pain, you have to put it somewhere. Mine always ended up on a plate. It's ironic. The more people leaned on me, the heavier I became. I carried their problems, and then carried myself. That's how I survived high school. Laughing, helping, hiding. Every night I told myself, tomorrow I'll start over. But every tomorrow looked like yesterday. Because you can't fix what you refuse to feel. And I wasn't ready to feel yet. Adulthood came quietly. No warning, no shift, just bills, deadlines, and the same old ache hiding under a different name. People said I was doing great. Good job, stable life, always smiling. But what they didn't see was the emptiness between those smiles, the kind that no promotion can fill. I became efficient, reliable, the kind of person everyone calls when something goes wrong. And that's how I stayed invisible, by being useful. It's easy to disappear when you're always helping others stand. No one asks if the strong one is tired. I learned to replace meals with meetings, emotions with emails. When people said I looked happier, what they really meant was that I had stopped talking about pain. Silence looks like strength from a distance. My relationship with food changed, or maybe evolved. It wasn't chaos anymore. It was ritual. Eat while working, eat while driving, eat while pretending not to care. The eating wasn't the problem anymore. It was the only thing that still felt. I used to look at couples holding hands in the street and think, they must not know how lucky they are. I craved touch, but I didn't want to be seen. So I built a world where no one could reach me, where I didn't have to risk rejection because I never tried. There were people who cared, I think. Friends who invited me out, coworkers who noticed the walls around me. But I always said the same thing. I'm busy. Busy is the safest lie you can tell. Sometimes, late at night, I'd sit on the floor of my apartment eating straight from the container, not because I was hungry, but because the quiet felt unbearable. Food was the only voice that never left me alone. It said, "You're safe here." It said, "You don't have to be enough for anyone but me." I used to think rock bottom was when you lose everything, but mine was when I had everything, and still wanted to disappear. That's what emotional exhaustion feels like. Not sadness, just absence. I stopped looking in mirrors, stopped buying clothes that fit. I wasn't hiding from the world anymore. I was hiding from the reflection of everything I couldn't face. And the worst part? No one noticed. Not because they didn't care, but because I was too good at pretending. Looking back now, I see that version of me, smiling, working, eating, functioning. And I realize she wasn't living. She was rehearsing her own disappearance. And it worked, until the night that chair broke. It was supposed to be just another night. A celebration, a reunion, one of those events you say yes to because you're tired of saying no to life. I spent hours picking what to wear, something that wouldn't draw attention, but also wouldn't look like I was hiding. Which, of course, I was. The mirror wasn't kind. It never is under fluorescent light. I adjusted the dress, pulled the fabric over the curve of my stomach, smiled at my reflection as if I could trick it into approval. "You look fine," I whispered. But I didn't believe it. The venue was beautiful, high ceilings, white lights, music that felt too loud for small talk. I told myself I'd stay for an hour, maybe 2. Smile, congratulate, disappear. That's what I was good at, being present without existing. People hugged me, told me how great I looked. Those words, "You've lost weight, haven't you?" burned more than they healed. Because they weren't compliments, they were confessions of past judgment. They didn't see me. They saw a version of me that finally hurt less to look at. I remember the chair. It was a delicate thing, wooden, elegant, not built for hesitation. When I sat, I did it carefully, the way people like me always do. We test the furniture before it tests us. For a few seconds, everything was fine. Laughter, glasses clinking, music humming softly in the background. And then, a sharp crack. A sound I'll never forget. It wasn't just the wood snapping. It was the air leaving my body. I fell. Not hard, but enough to feel every eye in the room turn toward me. Time slowed. Some people gasped. Others laughed before they could stop themselves. And in that half second, I became 12 years old again. Standing in the gym, hearing the same laughter, feeling the same burn behind my eyes. Someone rushed to help. A man's hand, a woman's voice. "Are you okay?" I nodded before I could even feel the pain. That's what we do. We say we're fine while drowning. I wanted to disappear. No, I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I picked up the pieces of the chair myself. No one else touched them. It felt symbolic, almost ritualistic, like cleaning up evidence of my own humiliation. The laughter faded, but it left a scar in the air. I smiled. I made a joke. Something like, "Guess that chair met its match." Everyone laughed again, relieved that I gave them permission to. That's the curse of people like me. We comfort others while bleeding quietly. I left early, walked to my car, sat in the dark, and stared at my hands. They were shaking, not from pain, but from the echo of every time I had made myself small. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about a chair. It was about everything I had allowed to collapse under me. The world didn't end that night. No one died. But something inside me did. Something I'd been protecting for years. The illusion that if I stayed quiet, I'd be safe. Safety had always been my prison. For days, I didn't leave the house. I told people I was busy, that I needed a little time for myself. But the truth was simpler. I couldn't face the world that had seen me fall. Even though I knew most people had already forgotten, I hadn't. Shame is strange like that. It doesn't care about logic. It whispers long after the world goes quiet. It turns every mirror into a courtroom, every reflection into evidence. And the verdict is always the same: guilty of existing. The laughter replayed in my head on loop. Not loud, just constant. I could hear the way they tried to hold it in, the way their sympathy turned into discomfort. That sound became my soundtrack. The first time I stepped outside, I thought everyone was looking at me. At the grocery store, at the gas station, even at the mailbox. Every glance felt like a memory, even if it wasn't. That's what trauma does. It makes you see ghosts in every pair of eyes. I started eating again, not out of hunger, but out of instinct. The body wants comfort when the soul is in shock. I'd tell myself, just one bite to calm down. But one bite turned into silence, and silence turned into another meal. I stopped weighing myself, stopped answering calls, stopped opening curtains. It's funny, when you live in darkness long enough, even your shame starts feeling like company. One night, while eating cold leftovers straight from the container, I realized I couldn't even taste the food anymore. It wasn't flavor I was after. It was numbness. I didn't want to feel better. I just didn't want to feel at all. The therapist in me, the part I buried under years of denial, knows exactly what that was. It was my nervous system trying to protect me from collapse. Because when you live in survival mode too long, peace feels unsafe. Healing feels like exposure. I told myself, it's just a phase. But deep down I knew it wasn't. It was a return to an old version of me, the little girl who ate so no one would see her cry. And she was back, louder than ever, begging to be fed, not loved. I wish I could say someone saved me. A friend, a stranger, a sign from the universe. But no one did. And maybe that's why it finally worked. Because this time, I had to face myself alone. There's a moment in every recovery where you stop asking why me and start whispering, it has to be me. I wasn't there yet, but I could feel something cracking. Not like the chair, sudden and loud, but slow and quiet, like light sneaking through a locked door. I don't know when it happened exactly. The moment something inside me shifted. Maybe it wasn't a moment at all. Maybe it was the quiet accumulation of small, exhausted breaths that finally turned into a sigh that said, enough. I woke up one morning, and the air felt heavier than usual. I hadn't opened my curtains in weeks. I remember standing in front of the mirror, the one in my hallway, the one I avoided like a witness. The light hit my face in a way that made it impossible to look away. So, I didn't. For the first time in years, I saw myself, not just my reflection, but the story written all over my skin. The sleepless nights, the shame, the silence, the meals that weren't meals but apologies. My body wasn't my enemy. It was my diary. Every pound, every curve, every stretch mark was an entry that began with, I survived this too. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. There's a kind of calm that comes when you stop running. Not peace exactly, but surrender. And surrender is the doorway to truth. I realized I wasn't hungry anymore. Not for food, not for attention, not even for forgiveness. What I wanted was to feel real, to breathe without guilt, to exist without apology. I walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and threw away everything that looked like comfort. Not because I hated myself, but because I was ready to stop pretending that comfort was healing. It wasn't. It never was. That day, I made a list. Not of goals, not of diets, not of punishments. A list of things I missed. Sunlight, movement, laughter that didn't hurt, quiet that didn't echo. Simple things. Human things. I started walking at night. Not to lose weight, to find rhythm. The first night, my legs ached. The second, my lungs burned. The third, I cried halfway through and didn't know why. Maybe because the silence outside finally matched the silence inside. I wasn't suddenly fixed. I still ate when I was sad. I still flinched when people laughed too loudly. Healing isn't linear. It's a spiral. You circle around the same wounds until one day they stop bleeding when you touch them. That night, before bed, I stood in front of the mirror again. I whispered, I'm still here. And for once, that didn't sound like a confession. It sounded like a promise. Change doesn't happen like in movies. There's no dramatic montage, no swelling music, no one clapping for you when you choose salad over self-sabotage. Real change is quiet, like the way water reshapes a rock without making a sound. I started with small things. Less sugar, shorter nights, slower breaths. Some days, I did everything right and still felt like nothing changed. But something was changing. Not outside, not yet. Inside. It was like the fog in my mind started to lift, one corner at a time. People say weight loss is about discipline. They're wrong. It's about mourning, letting go of every version of yourself that survived when you thought you wouldn't. I wasn't losing weight. I was burying ghosts. Every morning I walked. At first to escape my thoughts, then to meet them halfway. The streets were empty, the air cool, and for the first time in years, my body felt like mine. Not perfect, just present. I didn't count pounds. I counted moments. Moments when I said no to guilt. Moments when I looked in the mirror without disgust. Moments when I ate because I was hungry, not lonely. That's how healing hides, in small, ordinary acts of mercy. The changes came slowly. My clothes fit differently. My face softened. My breathing deepened. I didn't recognize myself at first, not because I looked new, but because I finally looked alive. People started noticing. "You look amazing," they said. But what they meant was, "You look acceptable now." And for the first time, that didn't hurt. Because I wasn't doing this for their approval. I had already met the only person I needed to impress, the one in the mirror. I wish I could tell you I became fearless, but the truth is, I still hesitated. Before every photo, every social event, every chair. Trauma doesn't vanish, it just stops leading. And I was learning to walk without letting it hold my hand. One morning, I stood in front of that same mirror where I once avoided my reflection. The sunlight was different this time, warmer, gentler, forgiving. I touched the glass, traced my own outline, and whispered, "You did it." Not because I was thin, but because I was free. It had been almost a year since that night. The invitation came in a white envelope, the same friend, the same group, the same small town pretending nothing ever happened. For a moment, I thought about saying no. But then I remembered who I used to be. The woman who hid, apologized, waited for permission to exist. And I knew I couldn't be her again. When I arrived, the music was already playing. The lights were soft, golden, familiar. I could feel my heart beating against my ribs like it was trying to escape, but I kept walking, step by step, not into a party, into a memory. People stared, not with cruelty, not even with shock, just curiosity. They whispered the kind of whispers that sound like wonder. And for once, I didn't shrink. I just smiled, quietly, as if to say, "Yes, it's me. The same woman you laughed at. The same, but not the same." Someone said, "You look incredible." I nodded, because I did. Not in the way they meant, but in the way I finally understood. Confidence doesn't come from mirrors. It comes from scars that learned how to close. I found a seat. A different chair, heavier, stronger, maybe symbolic, maybe coincidence. I sat down without testing it first, and the silence that followed felt like applause. Not from them, from me. As the night went on, laughter filled the room again. Same songs, same jokes, same stories recycled over wine. But this time, I wasn't outside the moment looking in. I was just there, present, whole. At one point, I caught my reflection in a window. The flicker of light, the curve of my smile, the calm in my eyes. And I realized something I had never understood before. They hadn't broken me. I had broken free. When I left, no one made a scene. No one stared. No one laughed. The world doesn't stop when you heal. It simply keeps spinning, softer this time. And that's enough. I walked to my car, the same one I once cried inside. The night air was warm, the sky quiet. I looked up, whispered to no one in particular, "You did it." And for the first time, it didn't sound like hope. It sounded like truth. They say time heals. I don't think it does. Time doesn't fix, it reveals. It strips away everything you thought mattered until all that's left is the truth you were too afraid to face. For me, that truth came in the shape of a chair. A stupid, fragile piece of furniture that cracked under my weight and forced me to see the parts of my life that were already collapsing. That night wasn't a tragedy. It was an invitation to finally meet the woman I had been hiding from. Sometimes I still hear it, that sound. Not as a flashback anymore, but as a reminder. Every time I doubt myself, I remember how it felt to stand back up while everyone watched. How it felt to smile through humiliation and still walk out whole. That sound used to mean shame. Now it means beginning. Because that was the night everything broke. The chair, my silence, my need to be small. And in that breaking, I finally made room for myself. I don't know if I'll ever be fully healed. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe healing isn't about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you were before the world taught you to hate yourself. Sometimes when I walk past mirrors, I still flinch. Old habits die hard, but then I catch my reflection and think, she stayed. After everything, after everyone, after every version of pain, she stayed. People still talk. They always will. But I've learned something they'll never understand. The moment they laughed was the moment I began. And I wouldn't trade that breaking for anything. Because now when I sit down, I don't test the chair. I trust it. And even if it broke again, I know this time, I wouldn't.